999ers risk their lives every day keeping us safe.
You're putting yourself out there to help other people at their most precious time of need.
But all too often, they're abused and attacked.
Their house is on fire and they're attacking us.
I was standing up with her hands around my throat.
No. These personal attacks on police, paramedics and firefighters are at an all-time high.
He's telling me, I'm going to kill your wife and I'm going to kill your family and I'm going to kill you.
Leaving them traumatised and unable to work.
How do you come to terms with knowing that you can't go and do the job that you love?
But while the violent criminals responsible are hunted down and brought to justice, our protectors fight to get well and back on the job.
We kept people safe, we put away the bad guys.
I'm not going to let some man ruin it for me. This is my future, this is what I enjoy doing.
Ready to face the next critical incident. Coming up, Merseyside police make a shocking discovery.
And on looking in the door pocket, right next to him, driver's seat, found a metal device.
The tin does contain explosives and it is fitted with a fuse, so it's potential to cause a lot of injury.
A patient lashes out at a paramedic on the way to hospital.
I didn't know if he was going to try and injure me. I didn't know if he was going to try and kill me. I was stuck.
And a traffic officer puts his life in danger to stop a suspected car thief.
I remember the headlight being there and going, this isn't good.
The car spins him around like a stick of rock.
In 2017, Merseyside police dealt with a terrifying incident.
And he's just pulled out the biggest silver handheld gun I've ever seen.
He pointed it at you?
Yeah.
The tin does contain explosives, which could potentially cause very serious injury.
That was probably the gulp moment for me.
PC Stuart Bratherton and Mark Patterson were on duty that day. They're part of the close-knit team stationed at Wallasey Police Station.
On the intel briefing, we've got a number of named nominals who have been identified by intel as being involved in knife crime on the Wirral.
This section, D block on Wirral, we're a proper bunch of brothers and sisters. We look out for each other.
Catching criminals has always been the best part of us.
Wear the black leather jacket and blue jeans, does appear aggressive.
We both joined together back in early 1999, and we've been quite fortunate that we've both worked with each other for pretty much all of our career.
We've both been stationed on response, on the Wirral, pretty much the whole of that time.
Two very likeable characters. They're very old-fashioned in their policing style. They work very, very well together, and their local knowledge is extremely good.
We're like a bit like husband and wife in work, really. You can't not kind of become big parts of each other's lives. Relationships, marriages, divorces, kids. I think with working with Stu and knowing Stu for the best part of 21 years, we know exactly how the other works and responds and the way we each do things. So you don't necessarily have to have that communication or conversation when you're dealing with an incident. It just flows.
And these close bonds would prove crucial when Mark and Stuart had to deal with a very serious incident.
We'd left the station on the day just to go out generally patrolling. So we were making towards that side of the Wirral anyway when the job came out.
Not far from where the incident initially unfolded.
A member of the public has called to say they've seen an armed male.
He just pulled out the biggest silver handheld gun I've ever seen, and he pointed it directly at me.
Listen, the gun you saw, what type of gun was it? What colour was it?
Silver.
Silver. Did it have a long handle, short handle?
Got out of his car with it in his hands, raised it up, pointed it in through my windscreen. He pointed it at you. Yeah.
The calls came in reporting a man with a gun threatening another man. Possession of what was described as a silver handgun or pistol.
All right, can you just say no, we're on our way? All right, love. We're just on the phone to the informant now. He can still see the male with this firearm.
We were around about here, weren't we, I think?
Yeah.
Close by. So where the actual incident took place on the promenade in West Kirby is a mile and a half away. We'd have activated the blue lights and the klaxons and made there on an emergency. We need to get there as quickly as possible.
Mark and Stuart know they'll need backup from a firearms unit.
There's non-armed officers. Stu and I were dispatched to the area, but to go to an RVP, a rendezvous point, to basically sit off at a distance from where the incidents occurred, but ready for further instructions and await the arrival of the firearms officers.
An RV point. Junction of Grange Road, please.
Just on the left down here, wasn't it?
We were aware that armed response were en route, but they were about 8 or 9 minutes away.
Our instruction is to just stand by for further update whilst we're awaiting firearms to attend. And then there was information about the registration, make, model, colour.
The call came in saying it was that Ford Focus in black with a silver pistol on board.
We're looking a bit more enthusiastically for it now. And because of the position we're in, I turn and I'm looking back up the hill because you can't see everything in the mirrors. And as I look up the hill, I see coming around the bend at the top of the hill, a car, same colour, same make, same model. And then as it gets a bit closer, it's the same reg as well. And I say to Stu straight away, Stu, it's here, mate, we've got it, it's behind us now.
Yeah, there's a patrol in Norman's Green, it's just driven right past.
With the firearms team still en route, Mark and Stuart must decide the best course of action.
I shouted up on the radio straight away to say, I've now got eyes on this car. What's the ETA for firearms? And I think at this point, they were still a good 7 or 8 minutes out coming from the city. So it's decision time at that point. What are you going to do? The concern from a police officer's point of view is, why has he got a gun? Is it a real gun? What's his intention? And where's he going now? And what's he going to do?
We decided, as armed response was so far away, that we would follow the vehicle. We've moved out, it's turned right into Darman's Green, so we've initially followed it at a distance.
We didn't have any blue lights or sirens on. We were a good distance back initially.
Room supervision, just confirm direction of travel for the target vehicle, please. Lee Road.
And literally, as we were at this point here, we seen the vehicle turn right into this road here.
At which point, we both instantly have this sinking feeling when we realise you can see the end of the road, it doesn't go anywhere.
A dead end poses serious danger. Exposed and alone, Mark and Stuart were now in the gunman's line of fire. Later, Mark and Stuart have to think fast.
We couldn't just sit here in the car. Just sat here doing nothing could potentially be the more dangerous thing to do.
And they make another shocking discovery.
The tin does contain explosives, could potentially cause very serious injury.
"72 police officers are attacked in England and Wales every single day. This means that every 20 minutes, somewhere in the country, an officer is being attacked. In this footage, a car has been stopped by the police because a child wasn't secured in a proper car seat.
Calm yourself down, son. I am calm, please. Stop. No, you're not putting it on me. You're not putting it on me.
But instead of cooperating, the driver violently lashes out, kicking PC Matthew Williams in the face.
Put it on me.
The offender then jumps out of the car, leaving the child with another passenger, and runs toward a second officer, PC Andrew Gilbert, punching him in the face as he arrests a second man. PC Gilbert suffered a deep laceration to his upper lip, which needed 14 stitches, along with a swollen and bruised left eye and further cuts to his face. PC Gilbert's colleague said in his statement that in 16 years of service, he'd never seen a more violent assault on a police officer. The driver admitted causing grievous bodily harm with intent to resist and prevent arrest, assault on an emergency worker, and criminal damage. He was jailed for 3 years and 19 weeks. Dangerous driving is one of the deadliest crimes that police have to deal with.
The biggest weapon we come across are vehicles. Not knives, not guns.
And Kent traffic officer Pete Ormerod has spent his career trying to prevent lethal incidents.
So it's drink and drug driving, seatbelts, speeding, mobile phones, and making sure people maintain a gap. People more die on the roads than they are by murders, and it's trying to stop those crashes from happening.
When you're in a pursuit situation, there's loads of things to think about. You've got speed, gear, accelerate, brake, clutch, steering, their driving, all the other driving.
He's a great officer, really fit, really an outstanding police officer. Makes me proud of the officers when you see them like that.
I come out of college with a small degree in graphic design, couldn't get a job, and Kent Police were offering roles, and it was a good career to start with.
Pete has his own reasons for joining the traffic force.
When I first joined, I used to work with someone, and she was killed in a road traffic crash by a drink driver, and that was kind of my motivation, really, to try and stop drink drivers. We do have our targets every now and then, the regulars who are disqualified driving, either drink or drug driving, we can target. And then night duty tends to shift a little bit, because obviously that's when crime mostly happens, from burglaries, car thefts, by keyless entry, stuff like that.
Pete relies on high-tech equipment to help him catch criminals on the road. These include ANPR cameras.
ANPR stands for automatic number plate recognition. So when you drive through a particular area, if there is a camera fitted in that site, you will go through it and your number plate will be red.
We just log into a system and then it basically updates itself via the internet. So essentially on the screen right now is the ANPR system. So every time we get a hit, it will flash up with a new vehicle. It may well be that we need to stop this vehicle because we need some intelligence on that vehicle. Anyone can add anything to ANPR for shoplifting. This vehicle's been involved in shoplifting, please stop. The locations aren't known and they can move, and we can have some of our cars sometimes have it fitted so they can be mobile units. It's essentially another tool in our armoury to try and reduce crime.
This camera proved vital in a shocking event that has had a lasting effect on Pete. It was summer 2019 and Pete was on the night shift.
It was my last night shift, and we had a few cars that were activating cameras in the county that were stolen. The particular vehicle was one of them. The car had gone through an area of Medway where a camera was static camera was, and the information was that it was taken from a car park at Merseyside train station. I was stationed with my colleague in Boxley Road in Maidstone, and we were just waiting to see what happened with this car and where was it going to go, where was it going to hit next, because it couldn't really leave Medway without pinging another camera. A dog handler was driving down Boxley Road and come across the vehicle and got behind the vehicle and activated his personal radio to say, yeah, I'm behind this vehicle, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, and trying to get other assets and resources into place, because obviously it was a single crew with a dog, so it was a case of get further assets there to help with the stop.
The incident described to me was a car that refused to stop for police, was being followed by a car in pursuit, and that Pete had got ahead of it.
And we were at the top of Boxley Road in Maidstone, so we were kind of hoping he was going to come towards us, which we found out it was on the radio. So with the information that we had, just listening in and then thinking, well, we're in a Stinger location as such, let's start considering a deployment.
A Stinger is a device that bursts the tyre of any car that drives over it.
Basically a bed of nails which deploys across the road.
As you can see, these are the spikes, the hollow on the inside. Sit the Stinger on the ground, in the direction you want it. Get the cord out, and we've got to grab this rope literally as we deploy it out. So. And then the car will go over it, and then we pull it out of the way before the police car goes over it.
Pete waited with the Stinger for the suspect to pass.
Boxley Road's quite a long, winding, rural road. It goes into a village and then goes straight into the town centre. Because obviously I put it on the floor thinking, we've got plenty of time to deploy it, set it up in a manner that's a little bit safer. And all of a sudden we get notified it's on a bridge. And the bridge was literally 20 seconds away from where I was. Because there's like two halves of your brain. There's like the front and the back. And the front contains all your training and the back contains all your instincts to survive. I'd gone too far over to the front where I've like, right, you're trained to do this, you're going to do something. And the balance of you need to be safe was overridden by the instincts to do something.
With only 20 seconds to decide what to do, Pete chose to deploy the Stinger. Seeing the Stinger across the road, the driver tries to avoid it.
When it came around the corner, the car swerved towards Peter and it hit him at high speed.
Later, the car hits Pete, throwing him into the road.
That vehicle on that time was like a weapon towards Peter.
I remember the headlight being there and going, this isn't good.
Coming up, two Merseyside police officers realise they're in a lot more danger than originally thought.
Mail has confirmed the tin does contain explosives.
It was confirmed that he'd filled it with shrapnel, so it was particularly dangerous.
And an assault by a patient leaves a paramedic traumatised.
I've been scarred, definitely been scarred.
But he gains huge admiration from his colleagues.
I would like James to know that we all admire him, we love him, we respect him. That's why we're all rooting behind him.
Reports last year revealed that a car is stolen on average every 5 minutes in Britain. This dramatic video footage shows police pursuing a stolen car, speeding along the motorway at over 140 miles per hour. 4 men had unsuccessfully tried to hack into an ATM before speeding off empty-handed in the stolen car. West Midlands police follow the gang as their driver reaches racetrack-like speeds, putting the officers and the public in danger. A police helicopter monitors their movements from the skies and directs officers to a block of flats. Three of the occupants from the car are found hiding in an apartment. Another is hiding in dense bushes nearby. Thermal imaging cameras on board the helicopter dash his hopes of not being seen, and he is picked up by a dog handling team. When police search the flat, they uncover an address list of shops with cash points. All of the suspects went on to admit conspiracy to steal and aggravated vehicle taking. One was sentenced to 12 years in prison and another received 11 years and 6 months for this crime as well as other offences. The other offenders were sentenced to 3 years for the attempted theft of the ATM. In the Wirral, 2 unarmed police officers have followed a man they suspect is armed with a gun into a cul-de-sac.
At which point, we both instantly have this sinking feeling when we realise you can see the end of the road, it doesn't go anywhere.
Mark and Stuart know they're in danger. The driver is alerted to their presence, and with backup still to arrive, they must handle the situation alone. Firearms officers are still en route, but Mark and Stuart know they need to take action.
Stand your position now, mate. Observe only. If the vehicle approaches you, withdraw.
We pulled up behind the vehicle, we activated our blue lights.
We didn't know, is it loaded? Is it in his hand? What's his state of mind? What's he going to do next? We couldn't just sit here in the car. Just sat here doing nothing could potentially be the more dangerous thing to do.
The driver has started to get out of the vehicle.
We've had no choice but to intercept.
Mark has stopped him, detained him, informed him of the reason why we've stopped him, thinking that he's got a firearm in the vehicle. And at this point, he's tried to get back into the vehicle to grab something. He was acting strangely. We weren't too sure, you know, what his actions or intentions were.
He tried to reach into the car for something or get back into the car, so we had to restrain him, handcuff him. Got him secured in our police car, and things kind of snowballed quite a bit from there.
With the offender in cuffs, Mark searches his car.
Mark has recovered a silver firearm from the back seat of the vehicle. So I've returned to the police vehicle and I've cautioned him on suspicion of possession of a firearm.
I started to have another look to make sure there was nothing else there that we needed to secure.
Mark was about to make another shocking discovery.
And on looking in the door pocket right next to him, driver's seat, found a metal device. Looked like a metal tin. It was very heavy.
And there was like a piece of material coming out the side which appeared what we thought to be a fuse.
Mark has found what appears to be a dangerous-looking homemade explosive.
We've gone and actually spoke to him, asked him what it was, and his first reply to us was that it was a firework.
The tin does contain explosives, and it is fitted with a fuse, so it's potential to cause a lot of injury. We're going to have to set up a cordon and could deploy some further patrols down, please.
With no idea how dangerous the device is, Mark and Stuart need to act fast.
We removed the guy that we'd arrested to custody, so we actually left the scene at that point, but things continue to evolve.
We're now en route to custody with this male being arrested for possession of a firearm. He's also been further arrested for suspicion of possession of an IED under Section 4 of the Explosive Substances Act.
En route to the police station, the offender makes a frightening revelation.
Male has confirmed the tin does contain explosives. He's also put inside the tin shrapnel. There are multiple metal fragments used. Could potentially cause very serious injury.
It was confirmed that he'd filled it with shrapnel, so it was particularly dangerous.
The street is quickly evacuated and the army are called in.
MOD ordnance were requested. Either the Army or the Air Force have their own bomb experts who we deploy, so we don't have any in-house who can deal with such devices. So we deploy the MOD and they come out and they literally take over. They couldn't even deal with the devices themselves hands-on. They had to deploy a remote control robot, and the device and the car was detonated in order to make it safe. That was probably the gulp moment for me. If MOD ordnance are on scene and they're not going to touch it, and these guys have got big kahunas and they're going to use a remote robot to do it, gulp.
He just, made this device himself. It was homemade. It was full of shrapnel, sorts of metal pins and nails. It was quite a crude device, and if it had have gone off, it would have caused a lot of injury.
I think it's only after the event, when you sit down and everything's done and you've done your bit and you start to decompress, that you think about the consequences and what could have happened and how dangerous it really was.
The male was convicted of the making of and possession of an explosive substance for unlawful purposes and possession of a firearm with intent to cause fear of violence. He was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison.
I think when you know that you've done the job, no one's got hurt, guns are recovered, explosives are recovered, a guy's in a cell, you go home and think, yeah, did my job today.
And Mark and Stuart continue to do their job.
Ambulance have been on requesting our assistance.
Determined that their close brush with danger won't stop them from protecting and serving the public.
Hello? It's the police.
Shall we to brace it?
And a few months after the incident, they were rewarded for their courage.
Quite a shock, really. We received a phone call earlier on this year, and basically we were told by our federation that we'd been nominated by them and our chief constable for the National Bravery Awards.
They took very quick and decisive action. They were exceptionally brave in what they did. A very worthwhile award that they've received. As a supervisor, I'm very proud of what they did.
We went to Downing Street, we met the PM, met the Home Sec. It was a big deal and it was good, and we loved every minute of it.
Back in Kent, PC Pete Ormerod is trying to stop a suspected car thief. He has received information that the suspect's car is 20 seconds away, and he has deployed a stinger to stop it.
I remember the headlight being there and going, this isn't good. And got hit by the car.
That vehicle on that time was like a weapon towards Peter. When it came around the corner, the car swerved towards Peter and it hit him at high speed.
Then got thrown, hit the floor.
The car spins him around like a stick of rock, you know, and he spins, and that's when he gets injured and breaks his leg.
Miraculously, despite being hit at such a high speed, Pete jumps straight up.
I remember my radio going nuts because I could hear the dog handler going, it's hit me. Next thing I kind of remember is getting up off the floor in front of our marked car and then scrambling around and getting into the car. My brain must have said, just get back in the car, just as a safe thing.
Had anything in that car caught up with Peter, it would have dragged him along. And that car was travelling at a speed that it could not stop straight away. So even if it chose to stop, the officer would have been dragged for a long period of time along the road.
Meanwhile, the dog handler continues to pursue the offender.
Dog handler managed to get round and get after the car. The car caught the stinger, so the tyre did deflate on the front left. It did stop eventually.
With a flat tyre forcing the car to stop, the chase is over. But when the dog handler makes the arrest, there is a surprise in store. The driver is only 16 years old.
He turned out to be a juvenile. He was arrested. They did some testing, sort of breath test, drug wipe, and he failed a drug wipe for cannabis.
In the moments after the attack, shock begins to set in for Pete.
I then realised, really, I've been hit by a car. It's the first time really I've reset myself. And yeah, got out the car and started checking myself over to see how badly injured I was. Adrenaline's a great painkiller. And obviously once I got back out of the car, it started to wear off. And once it started wearing off, that's exactly when obviously all the pain started to kick in.
Pete is driven to the hospital.
An ambulance had already been called, but they were extremely busy and we weren't too far away from a local hospital. So it was just like, well, I'm kind of walking and talking. Let's get in a car and get there. Had an X-ray, and then the radiographer said, you've got a fractured, displaced fibula in the left leg. Right at the top, where it sits next to here, it completely fractured and splintered and then separated a little bit to the, I think it was to the left. I was at the hospital, just wait, do my statement whilst I was sat there for the reasons for deploying and stuff like that. And then get home and try and sleep, but that wasn't ever going to happen.
The offender was brought to court.
I gave my evidence in trial, saw the videos. Didn't watch it for a while, I didn't want to. I did watch it beforehand, and in the trial, the audio was played, and obviously you can hear me getting hit and the noise that I make, which isn't too pleasant. And then it was kind of like watching it with the audio, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't prepare for that bit as well. And so it was kind of like surreal a little bit, seeing yourself get hit by something and get up and run off. Yes, I was hurt, and yes, I deployed. and we got the vehicle, we got the driver, and no one else got hurt.
I think my response was, he's lucky to be alive. Lucky to be seriously injured, but not worse. I'm just really disappointed with society that criminals think it's okay to assault emergency workers, ambulance colleagues, fire colleagues, and those people who do that should be punished appropriately.
The offender, who was a juvenile, was convicted of failure to stop after a road traffic collision, failure to provide a blood sample, causing serious injury by dangerous driving, driving without a licence and driving without insurance. He was given a 12-month rehabilitation order and ordered to pay £100 in compensation. A badly broken leg meant that Pete was off work for 5 weeks.
I live in a 1, 2 up, 2 down, basically. Getting upstairs was a massive issue. So my mum and dad live in a bungalow, so I moved back in with them to make it easier. The first time in probably 14 years I'd taken a good break and then sort of taken to stock of everything that's happened and work out what caused me to make that decision with this thing with no real cover.
Pete also began to feel the psychological impact of the incident.
It wasn't really till I got back home and I was on my own. I was doing some washing up and then literally the headlight, it just wouldn't get out of my head. And all I kept seeing for the next sort of 2 hours was headlight, 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 flashback. I was walking my dog after being able to walk again, and then this bike was coming down the hill, and I don't know, for instance, I just saw the headlight and froze. So obviously it's coming towards me, but it just set me off. With the mental health help that I've had from welfare it's learning to get that balance with your fear and your instincts, learn to talk to your training a little bit more and get that balance, because then you'll make a better informed decision.
Pete has had to pass the scene of the incident many times.
Well, I didn't realise I was driving down the route until I went onto the bridge and went, oh, I'm driving the way where I got hit. And it was actually on the way to a counselling session actually as well, which was a bit ironic. And I have gone through that route quite a few times since, and it's not bothered me too much. Obviously, it's always going to be a place that's going to be quite daunting to go to because it's where I got hit. But it doesn't upset me as much as it used to. And it's also part of the healing process, I think, as well, where you visit somewhere where something traumatic happens.
Five weeks after the incident, Pete was back at work.
There's no issues with the leg anymore. All the soft tissue stuff is kind of left off. There's obviously the hamstring was my issue, a few muscle issues here and there. I'm back running, I'm back in the pool, back walking the dog. Headlights there every now and then, it's always going to be. It's with any sort of trauma incident, it's always going to be there, and it's always just going to pop up every now and then. But that's normal, and it's learning that's normal, and knowing how to cope with it in a way through the mental health help via welfare, that if it does appear, there's coping mechanisms that you can do.
Even after such a horrendous incident, there's no other job for Pete.
I should take his hands off the steering wheel completely right next to my car.
When I went to see Peter, again, he just got the ethos of I was just doing my job, I was trying to stop the car and just talking about coming back to work. And it was fantastic.
It's like, obviously, driving past that car and he's not got his seatbelt on, I don't think.
I enjoy it. It's definitely where I want to be because it gives me the most chance of doing what I enjoy in terms of sort of taking drug drivers off the road, stopping people from driving carelessly to cause crashes. And that's my main buzz of policing, is to stop those people doing that.
Paramedic James Ryan's first patients were rather unusual.
Ever since a young age, my mum used to say to me that we'd go on holiday and I'd be rescuing all the flies in the swimming pool and leaving them on the side to see if they got better. Helping people, it's in the blood, and just being kind. I like making a difference. I like helping people in their moment of need.
And James makes a difference to many lives, including those of his 2 daughters, whom he cherishes.
I was actually told I couldn't have children, but my 2 daughters were conceived naturally, which was a big surprise. I adored them and absolutely loved being a dad, and I treasure them.
James is also very popular with his colleagues at the South West Ambulance Service in Weymouth.
Jimmy's just like an all-round nice guy. He's everyone's friend. He'll do anything for anyone. No one in the service has a bad word to say about him. He's the sort of person you'd want to be working with in a horrible situation.
Charlotte was paired with James when a nasty incident occurred 3 months ago.
James was actually assessing me on the day of the incident. So I was having my 6-month review as a newly qualified paramedic. This is the first time I'd actually worked with him on a shift.
We were going to a male who we believed to be intoxicated with alcohol, and there was a head injury noted. So we responded with blue lights and sirens, and we arrived on scene, and we were greeted by members of the public. We managed to stand the patient, and he walked slightly unsteady, but to the ambulance. He did appear and definitely intoxicated with alcohol.
It was his birthday and he drank quite a lot. He needed to go to hospital because he couldn't look after himself. I was driving and Jimmy was sat in the back with him, and that's kind of where it all went a bit pear-shaped.
Initially, I was sat in the seat here, and my patient was sat in the seat here. We popped his seatbelt on, made him safe, and he asked a few questions and he kept repeating himself. So he could have been slightly concussed.
Suddenly, the patient's behaviour changed.
He decided that he wanted to stand up, undo his belt and get out the ambulance. I explained to him why he needed to stay sat down. I just wanted to keep him safe.
We were at the stadium roundabout. I heard a seatbelt unclick and I turned around, but Jimmy was just stood in front of him and he was like, just sit back down.
His demeanour changed slightly then. He became a bit louder and a bit more forceful, and he decided that he probably didn't want to go to hospital. He stood up again. I was holding him, trying to stop him moving, and I was worried that he was going to exit the vehicle because he was a bit more forceful. So I held him quite carefully to stop him falling over, and that's when it all began.
As the ambulance was travelling at high speed, James was terrified that one or both of them would be injured if he didn't convince him to sit down.
See that we were approaching a roundabout. It was quite unsteady in the ambulance as we went round the roundabout, and I really wanted him to sit down. So I couldn't alert my colleague very easily, though she knew something was going on.
All of a sudden there was just this huge bang, and I couldn't see Jimmy anymore, and I could just see our guy's face in our little hatch, and Jimmy was like shouting for help.
He pushed me into the attendant's chair that I was sat in, and he then jumped on top of me and popped his arms up around my neck. I was pinned down, I couldn't move, both my arms were wedged. I was worried about what he was going to do next. I didn't know whether he was going to attack me further. I was worried that we hadn't searched him for weapons. I didn't know if he was going to try and injure me. I didn't know if he was going to try and kill me. I was stuck. But I knew I had to get out of that situation and get out of that situation quickly.
I was just kind of scared for Jimmy. It's like someone had just flipped a switch. It was horrible.
I managed to push the patient back into the chair.
I radioed for police backup.
And I managed to restrain him until I could reason with him and talk to him, calm him down.
Police came pretty fast.
I expressed concern at this point that he probably did need to still go to the hospital to be examined. I asked the police if they could convey the patient to the hospital, and we were only a few minutes away, and I would meet them there with the patient and give a handover to the hospital staff. So I was still concerned for him, even though he, assaulted me. I was given information that he was given a court date, and this was all within 24 hours of him being arrested and me providing a statement, which was reassuring and knowing that something was being done and being done very quickly.
The offender pleaded guilty to assaulting an emergency service worker. He was sentenced to 8 weeks in prison and ordered to pay James £100 in compensation. Although the incident had an enormous effect on him, James didn't sustain any physical injuries.
I got away with minimal injuries. But I've been scarred, definitely been scarred. And you get flashes of all sorts happening. And that's what you go through afterwards. You know, you dwell on that a little bit. You know, could he have done this? Could he have done that? What if things changed?
Since that day, James appreciates his life and the people close to him more than ever.
During the incident, I just wanted to speak to my children, just to say, look, Daddy's okay. I just wanted to speak to them and hear their voice. This is a gift for Father's Day from my children. It's a picture, and it's a list of my girls' favourite things they like about me. I teach them all about ambulances. I give them lovely hugs and kisses. And the best bit is they said, "You make us feel lovely." It's probably one of my most treasured pictures. Yeah, it makes me just want to go and pick them up and give them a big cuddle, and I wish they were here with me right now.
Another big factor in James's recovery has been the support of his friends. Today he is celebrating his 40th birthday with his colleagues from the emergency services.
Happy birthday, Jim. Happy birthday. Happy birthday all.
Talking to them is vital. Being able to offload to colleagues in the ambulance service, because I can't talk to anybody, you know, at home or anybody else about the work we deal with. So I've got a good network of friends at work, both within the ambulance service and the local hospital.
Well, I've known James for years now, and he's a quality paramedic. Very good with his patients.
Today is James's birthday, and we are going to the Greyhound racing in Poole tonight. But we thought before that we'd take about 4 or 5 hours to meet with him and just go through and be there for him. A lot of times in this job that we do, we get into uniform and we become that persona that people expect us to be. Today is a day to get rid of that and just be human, be people, be friends, and just enjoy it.
We like to meet up. We support each other. We've all been through it in one way or another.
Number three. You did it again.
I would like James to know that we all admire him, we love him, we respect him. That's why we're all rooting behind him.
Jimmy is just what everyone wants to be, just someone that can just close the book and just carry on. Hopefully, I could be like that one day.
I'm just going to continue as I'm doing, won't dwell on what's happened too much, and just move on and carry on doing as I do and making a difference.